Okay, I can see we've got a few participants coming through. We'll just pause for a little while just to make sure we've got everybody in. But welcome to those of you who have signed in this early afternoon. You're here for the, well, hopefully you're here for the introductory session of the Leeds Local Plan Update Publication Draft Consultation 2022. As I say, we'll just pause for a minute or two just to see whether we get any more participants through. Okay, we'll give it till 2 minutes past, I think, and then we'll make a start. I know how precious all of your time is, so I don't want to take any more of it. Okay, we're going past. Got 2 past there, so I'll make a start. And yeah, hello and welcome to the first in our webinar series for the Local Plan Update Publication Draft Consultation. My name is Adam Harvat and I manage the planning policy team at Leeds City Council. Before we begin the webinar properly, I'd just like to outline some housekeeping arrangements for this session and just to explain the format as well. So please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded publicly on YouTube for the benefit of others who weren't able to attend today or come later and want to listen. All attendee microphones and videos have been turned off and will remain off. Please use, to ask questions, please use the Q&A function within Zoom at the bottom of the screen. We'll attempt to answer the questions verbally unless you would prefer a written response, in which case please indicate if this is the case. But if we run out of time, we'll make a record and email you a response. I'm sure that won't be an issue today, but just in case that it is. You should see options for sort of closed captions or subtitles at the bottom of your screen. So should you wish to have that activated, please just turn that on and it should be able to give you a live functionality to be able to see what we're saying if that's useful to you. We also have transcripts of the presentations, so if you'd like those to be sent to you, please just send an email to lpu@leeds.gov.uk and we'll get that sent out to you as well. Okay, so this session is an introduction to Local Plan Update Consultation, and it's going to cover an explanation of what the Local Plan Update is, some background about how we've got here, an explanation of the material that we're consulting on and how you can access it, a brief summary of the policies we're consulting on, and an explanation of how you can have your say. Now, obviously, if you've attended this webinar, then obviously you're already aware that the webinars exist. But just for those who are coming along later, we'll be hosting a range of webinars which focus on the individual topics of carbon reduction, flood risk, green and blue infrastructure, placemaking, and sustainable infrastructure, as well as this introductory session and its kind of sibling tomorrow evening. These more topic-based sessions will go into more detail on those policy areas than will be covered in today's session. So if you're particularly interested in any or all of these topics, those sessions are for you. Times and dates are detailed on the screen. And you can sign up for all our webinars on the Have Your Say section of the website via Eventbrite. We've also got some upcoming drop-in events. We'll be hosting a number of drop-in events where all are welcome. This will give you an opportunity to have a chat with members of the policy and plans team about the local plan update. And the details of those are on the screen, but you can also find details on our website as well. So the Leeds local plan update. What is a local plan? And the Leeds local plan comprises a number of documents that contain long-term strategic planning policies that guide the development, the amount and location of development in the Leeds district. It also includes more specific, topic-specific policies that guide different types of development and make sure that priorities such as design, green space, heritage, infrastructure, and flood risk, amongst many other issues, are considered during decision making. So why are we updating it? We're required to review our planning policies every 5 years to check they are still working, relevant, and fit for purpose, and to identify any policy gaps that may have arisen in the meantime due to changes in local priorities or new government legislation or new government policy. We undertook a review of our local plan in 2020 and identified a number of policies that required updating. Due to the number of those policies that did require that updating, it was considered that the local plan update should be undertaken in at least 2 parts, with the first part, which is this part, focusing on the role of planning in helping the council deliver its climate emergency ambitions. So why focus on the climate emergency? In March 2019, Leeds City Council declared a climate emergency with an ambition to work towards carbon neutrality by 2030. This decision was based on evidence from the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the UK government's legal commitments in the Climate Change Act, as well as climate-related events occurring both globally and locally. To achieve our ambitions by 2030 and beyond, by reducing the impact of human activity on the climate and by adapting to the impacts of climate change to lessen harm, a rapid period of transition is necessary, along with big changes. Planning policies can help achieve this by supporting developments that shape places in ways that contribute to reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, such as by reducing the need to travel by car, minimizing vulnerability and improving resilience, such as by avoiding places that flood and dealing with water, encouraging more careful use of resources, such as by making homes more energy efficient, and supporting the move towards renewable and low carbon energy. So what have we already done? Well, some of you already on this webinar will remember, but in summer 2021, we undertook a public consultation, Your Neighbourhood, Your City, Your Planet, on some ideas for how planning policies could change in the future to take account of the climate emergency. We proposed a number of policy areas which fell under 5 overarching topic areas: carbon reduction, flood risk, green infrastructure, placemaking, and sustainable infrastructure. Now, this was an early stage of plan making known as Regulation 18 or scoping consultation. And we were looking for people's ideas, opinions, local experiences, and evidence to help us shape the plan. Overall, we had about 800 responses were received, and the vast majority of consultee responses made it very clear that they supported the focus of the plan on the climate emergency and were encouraged by the proposed direction the plan will take. So, that's a bit of the background. What is this consultation about? Well, using the comments and suggestions from the Regulation 18 consultation, otherwise, as I say, otherwise known as the scoping consultation, as well as some further evidence and research that we've conducted ourselves, the supporting text and updated policies for the local plan have been drafted. And I'm going to go through in a bit more detail where they can be found. But before this can be submitted to the Secretary of State for independent examination, we need to undertake the next stage of plan preparation, which is the public consultation on this pre-submission draft plan, otherwise known as the publication draft, and otherwise known as the Regulation 19 consultation stage. Bit of a mouthful there, but there's the important thing is that this is the next round of consultation, essentially, where we've got detailed policies, which we're really keen to get people's views on. And this is the first time we've got detailed policies. Previously, we've had kind of ideas and suggestions. This time around, we've got the detailed policies, which are open for people's comments. So what can you influence? Well, we need your views, whether you support the plan or wish to object to it. You know, if you support the plan, tell us what you like about it. If you object, you know, what do you think the policies should stay instead? Your objections will be strengthened if you can provide reasons and evidence to support them. Whether you support or object, you may wish to comment on whether you think the policies are justified by evidence, whether they are realistic and effective, whether they will deliver sustainable development. And these are known as the tests of soundness, which is the government's way of assessing whether our draft plan should be adopted or not. And these tests are further explained on our website. So what happens after the consultation? The updated draft local plan and all comments received during the consultation are sent to the Secretary of State for the Department of Levelling Up, Housing and Communities. It'll be their job to then appoint an independent planning inspector to undertake what is known as a public examination of the draft local plan, who will use your comments to make a judgment on whether the plan meets the test of soundness. They may make recommendations to make further improvements to the plan before it is adopted. The examination will include hearing sessions which are held in public. So you will be asked when you submit your comments if you would like to attend one of these hearings, and you'd be more than welcome to do so. But that process is controlled by the inspector rather than by the council. So how to make comments? Well, the views of local people and other stakeholders are crucial in shaping our work. We need residents and businesses, and as I say, other stakeholders to have their say on our draft policies. The consultation will run for a period of 8 weeks, starting on Monday, the 24th of October and finishing on the 19th of December 2022, during which time we need you to submit your comments to us. Ideally, we'd like you to submit your comments via our online survey, which can be found on our website, www.leeds.gov.uk/LPU. But alternatively, please email us at lpu@leeds.gov.uk or send comments in writing to Leeds Local Plan Update Consultation, Policy and Plans Group, Merrion House, 9th floor East, 110 Merrion Way, Leeds, LS2 8BB. That's all on our website, so don't worry about memorizing any of that. It's important to know that all representations received within the consultation time period will be submitted to the Secretary of State and considered as part of the public examination by an independent planning inspector. Also, if you need any guidance on any of the above, if you're struggling to understand the material or to understand how to access it, please either email us or phone us on 0113 378 7993. But please note that we can't accept comments by phone. But if you're having any issues with the digital nature of some elements of the consultation, we'll be able to provide other elements in paper. So please don't think that that's a barrier for you to be involved. It certainly isn't. Okay, so I'm going to go through now just a little bit about how to use our website. And if you just bear with me as I just swap over my screens, just so we can see everything as it should. Can I just get an indication from a colleague that that is showing okay?
It is, Adam, yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. So what we've got here is our landing page, and I'll treat it like it was a normal. I wasn't on this page, and so you can see what I did. So firstly, we're just going to type in www.leeds.gov.uk/LPU, and that's going to take us exactly where we were, which was this page, the local plan update landing page. So you just need to type that into any web browser, and this should work on any internet-enabled computer, tablet, or smartphone. And as I say, this should take you to what we're calling the landing page or the home page for the consultation. Now, depending on what you're looking on this on, it may display in slightly different ways, but it should, in all kind of, whether it's a tablet or a phone or a computer, it all should have these same sort of 5 tabs or buttons, whatever you prefer to call them. But as you can see, hopefully you can see my cursor there. There are 5 different sections. I'm going to take you through those sections in turn. So the first tab you see is the introduction and have your say. So I'm just going to click on that, because this includes a bit of background to the consultation, some of which I've just taken you through. It's just sort of set out here. You'll recognise some of those headlines because they've kind of what I've been saying. And if you scroll down, you can find here what we think is a bit of a helpful video. It's only about 4 minutes long, but if you don't have much time, or you know that somebody that you're familiar with might be interested but doesn't have that long to know or learn about this kind of stuff, we've got a video here which is, as I say, quite short. We've also got a summary document, which I'm just going to click on just so you can see what it looks like. That opens up as a PDF, and that includes just little what we call plans on a page, which I'm going to take you through later on in this presentation, but also some really high-level summaries of what each policy says and the effect of it there. So that's probably the first port of call. If you're wanting to know a bit more about the consultation, that's a great place to go, just to understand what all these policies are and what are they actually trying to do without having to read the full detail. So that's what we call the summary. There's also details of the consultation events taking place, which obviously I've taken you through, but if you do need to go back to remind yourself, you've got the drop-in sessions there and the webinar sessions there. And as I said, there's a link here. You can sign up to the Eventbrite, which all of you will have done, no doubt, just to be here. But that's where you can do that. And crucially, this is where you can click on the Have Your Say on the local plan update, and this is what will open the online response form. I'll take you through that in a little while, but we'll come back to that. But that's the button you need to click on to log in your comments via the online survey. So just going back then, we've got the second tab, which is the what's called the proposed new and amended policies. Now this is the really key one. This is the written text of the new and amended policies. Now, by default, it displays in an accessible format, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can get it as a PDF if that's what you'd rather. But we try and provide things in what's called HTML as an accessible format, because that means that it can be displayed on lots of different devices, and screen readers are able to read what's written on text on the screen, so it enables a lot more accessibility. So yeah, it's split into the 8 sections, which is the overall approach, carbon reduction, flood risk, green and blue infrastructure, placemaking, sustainable infrastructure, and then there's a glossary and a schedule of superseded policies. So each of these links will take you through to an individual section where all the new policies are, and it lists them there, and you can read them in detail and understand it. If you see, it's quite subtle, but there's a bit of a blue background there, which shows you which are the actual policies. So the blue background is the policy, and the non-blue background is the explanatory or supplementary text, which is how you generally structure a local plan document. So that's where all the detailed policies, this is the real detail of the consultation. Okay, so if we go to the third tab, we've got what's called background papers. These are just documents that provide a bit more detail on why we've developed the policies that we have, and a bit of justification. So each of them, these are PDFs that will open up, and they are just documents that supplement each of the topics and provide you, as I say, a little bit more background information to justify why our policies say what they do, and we've separated it by topic, hopefully for your convenience. We've then got an evidence-based tab, which is subtly different from the background papers one. The background papers is justification for why we've done what we've done, but the evidence base is almost the raw data to justify some of the decision making that our decisions are based on, I suppose. So this is evidence that has informed the policies that we've written, and these are all available to download. In addition, this tab also contains links to interactive maps on renewable energy and 20-minute neighbourhoods. So I'm just going to click on the 20-minute neighbourhoods map here. Now, if you're interested in this topic, definitely tune into the placemaking webinars, because this will be gone through in a lot more detail than I'm going to go through here. But I'm just showing you this is the place that you would go to access this kind of information. So this is our 20-minute neighbourhoods heat map, and hopefully you can see that. I'll go back. And finally, we've got the fifth tab, which is is basically the material that we consulted on last year for the first round of consultation on the local plan update. So that's where you can go just to refresh yourself and remind yourself on what it was that we consulted on last time round. Okay, so let's go back to the online form and have a look in a bit more detail about that. Now, online forms, I think we recognise, can sometimes look a little bit complicated, and we're really keen for people to be able to spend as much or as little time as they want within this form. So it's designed to capture both detailed and quick comments depending on your preferences. So if we just click through, on the first page, it just contains some background information, and the vital piece of information, which is highlighted in red here. Your response will only be registered if you complete the required questions and you click finish on the last page. So there aren't that many required questions, but it is really important that you do click finish on that last page. Otherwise, you won't be able to submit your comments, and your hard work in crafting your responses or clicking the buttons will have been lost. So we don't want that to happen. So please make sure you do click finish. So you just click next on there because that's just for information. And then we have a privacy notice, which you simply click in the box to say that you give your consent. Obviously, I'd recommend that you read through the information carefully before progressing, because there is information about how we use your data that's captured in that section. On number 3, this is just a quick question, just to capture people's quick thoughts. Do you agree with the statement that the policies in the publication draft LPU update meet the overall objective to use planning policy tools to help address the climate emergency? You don't have to answer that question, but if you'd like to, you can just click any of those 5 options, and we can record that. Just to get a bit of a hot take there in terms of what your thoughts might be and whether you think it is achieving what we hope it to achieve. This is one of the most important pages. This is page 4, and it allows you to make clear which policies you support and which policies you don't support. And you can click on as many, the policies are listed here, and you can click on as many or as few as you like, and that'll help you make a decision about whether you want to support or not, and you can obviously change your mind if you wish. You don't need to give a response to all of them. The policies are divided by topic, as they are both in the summary and in the detailed policy material. And if you want to support all of them, you can just click there at the top rather than clicking every single one. Or if you do not support all of them, again, you can click all of that at the top, or no comment if you don't want to make any comment about any of them. Now, if you want to write more detailed comments, don't worry. It's just that this isn't the page to do it. So this is the page just to click those sort of quick support or do not supports. And it's on future pages that you'll be able to write more detailed comments that you support. And also at the bottom here, you can indicate as well whether it's not just the policies you'd like to comment on. You may also want to comment on things like the sustainability appraisal or the habitats regulations assessment. So I'll leave those comments as they are, those little boxes there. As you can see, you don't need to click on everything. Now, the next page considers what's called legal compliance and the test of soundness, and allows you to make comments on those issues. There are 2 large boxes here. So you've got for comments on legal compliance, and a second large box for comments on the soundness of the plan. And they allow you to make comments on these issues, clarify the changes you'd like to see. Now, again, you're not required to provide comments on these issues if you don't want to, but you are required to tick at least one of these boxes. So, do you think, based on the policy selected previously, do you consider local plan is sound? Yes or no, or don't know. If you're not sure, just click don't know. All the information is hopefully there to help you answer that question, but I'm just going to click don't know for the sake of completeness here, just to allow me to progress to the next section. And then if you want to make some comments, but they're not related to things like tests of soundness or legal compliance, we've got another big box there for you to go through that for. But again, you don't need to respond if you don't want to. Page 7 allows you to upload documents should you wish. And page 8 allows you to indicate whether you would like to attend the examination or not. Page 9 is about whether you'd like to be notified on future updates. And then the following pages, which I'm not going to go through in detail just because there's a few required fields, is just details on you, just so we've got your contact details to be able to know who you are when you're making your comments, which is really useful for us. So I'm not going to go through those sections, but there are just a few short pages and with a few feedback questions as well, just to make sure that we're keeping our material engaging. The key thing is on page 16, make sure you click finish, because if you don't do that, your comments won't be submitted. So yeah, make sure you do that. So I'm just going to pause there because I don't know if there's any comments on that section. I'm happy to take any comments on that element. And if there aren't any comments, what I'm going to do then is just go on to a brief summary of the policy areas, just to give you a bit of a, if you don't know anything about it, just to give you a bit of a grounding in any of the policy areas, and you can understand which ones might be of preference to you. So as I say, I'll just have a brief pause there just to see, and don't worry if you missed your opportunity to ask a question at this section. There will be a section at the end just to ask any question related to all of the presentation or anything that I haven't covered. So don't worry if you haven't got any thoughts now. I'll hand over to Cal just in case we've got any questions there, Cal.
Yeah, none as yet, Adam, but I will keep my eye on the Q&A box.
Yeah.
So feel free to put anything in, everybody. I'll capture those later.
That's great. That's great. I will. I'll just go back to the presentation, but I'll just pause for a minute, and if there's anything there. If there's not, then I'll just start for the next section. We're just over halfway. Okay, so we'll crack on, and we'll go through the detail. Well, sorry, not through the detail. We'll go through essentially the summaries of the policies. Now, don't worry if you can't read the detail on this screen. I'm going to read it out. And this is all contained, as I say, within our summary information. But I just wanted to give you a bit of the headlines, just so that you come away from this understanding a bit more detail, if you don't have it already, about what these policy areas are actually trying to do. So we've got topic 1 here, which is about carbon reduction. And Leeds City Council is committed to taking significant action to mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change. Buildings use a lot of carbon, particularly when occupied and when under construction. Therefore, for Leeds to ensure that new buildings do not worsen the impacts of climate change, they will have to be energy efficient and make more use of renewable energy. So this topic, as the wheel includes, it shows you, it includes the following policy areas: whole life cycle carbon emissions, zero carbon development, sustainable construction, renewable energy generation, heat networks, and energy storage. And our draft policies include provisions for new buildings to be net zero carbon and highly energy efficient. New developments will measure carbon emissions across the whole life cycle of a building. We'll have higher standards of sustainable construction. We'll identify opportunities for where renewable energy, like solar and wind, could be located, and will require better use of sustainable heating technology. Topic 2 is flood risk. Now nationally, the risk of flooding is increasing, and Leeds has been particularly badly hit by flood events in recent years. Flood risk is one of the most serious and direct impacts of climate change that Leeds faces, in combination with the delivery of flood alleviation schemes. Our new policies are intended to stop new developments in flood areas, increase the resilience of new buildings to flooding, and to make more space for water in new developments. And so, as the wheel indicates, this topic includes the following policy areas. We've got the functional floodplain, impact of climate change, breach modelling, safe routes of access and escape, sustainable drainage systems, and making space for water. And our draft policies on those areas include protecting the functional floodplain from unsustainable development, requiring an assessment of risk of flood defences failing, climate change scenarios considered in flood risk assessments, safe routes for access and escape in times of flooding, all proposals being expected to make adequate space for water and increase use of sustainable drainage systems. And I should say, if any of these topics are sounding really interesting to you, but you'd like a lot more information than I'm going through now, obviously, just tune into the webinars for those particular events. The next topic we've got is green and blue infrastructure. And green and blue infrastructure, otherwise known as GBI, is a network of natural and semi-natural areas that spread throughout the district, including parks, woodland and river corridors. Protecting, maintaining, enhancing and extending GBI plays a vital role in protecting the environment, delivering the council's strategies to improve the health and well-being of its citizens and to address the climate emergency, as well as creating high-quality places for people and nature. Through the local plan update, we will adopt policies that will help strengthen the role of GBI to improve your quality of life. And as the wheel indicates, this topic includes the following policy areas: increased tree planting, protecting, extending and enhancing green space, as well as enhancing GBI, increased biodiversity and nature conservation, and local food production. And the draft policies to help deliver those is a requirement to undertake a green and blue infrastructure assessment as part of new development, greater protection for trees, increased tree replacement numbers, which are based on carbon sequestration values. In other words, the amount of carbon that was stored in the tree that's been cut down should be then replaced in the new trees. A clear requirement for the delivery of high quality green space, supporting community food growing and more trees as part of new development, requiring development to provide a plus 10% net gain in biodiversity, and a requirement of increased provision of green space within the city centre. And I should just make clear that that's because currently the city centre schemes are required to provide less green space than throughout the rest of the city. So we're trying to just make that a bit more equitable. Topic 4, placemaking. And high quality design is a key aspect of sustainable development and is essential in creating places in which people can enjoy a high quality of life, which is fulfilling and healthy. Our existing plan encourages development in sustainable locations and supports high standards of design. However, these policies predate the climate emergency declaration and the well-being impacts of COVID-19, as well as the Connecting Leeds strategy with its ambitions for reduced private car dependence. Moreover, the national guidance has changed to afford more weight to design, largely as a result of what is considered to be poor quality design in many housing schemes. We think that now is the right time to refresh our plan to ensure that it is suitably ambitious around issues of design. And this topic includes the following policy areas. We've got 20-minute neighbourhoods, increasing design quality, health impacts of development, and resisting drive-throughs. And the draft policies to help achieve that. We've got embedding 20-minute neighbourhoods into planning policy by recognising how long it takes to walk to amenities and facilities, stronger and clearer guidance on how high quality design should be delivered as part of new development, ensuring that healthier environments are created through the completion of health impact assessments for large developments, and resisting drive-through developments due to its impact on air quality where possible. And finally, we've got sustainable infrastructure. Topic 5. And this topic is about supporting low carbon forms of transport and improved digital connectivity. And this is important as it will help reduce the number of journeys that need to be made by car, helping to reduce carbon emissions and ensuring that our communities are resilient to the impact of climate change. The local plan update focuses on the ways that the planning system can be used to help deliver these types of infrastructure. And this topic includes the following areas, which are shown in the wheel. We've got mass transit, rail infrastructure, Leeds City Station, and digital connectivity. And this will be achieved through the following policies: supporting a new mass transit network and new railway infrastructure in Leeds, supporting the development of Leeds City Station so that it has room for increased numbers of passengers and services, and requiring high-speed internet for new developments. Okay, so that's a summary of the policies. And as I say, if any of that sounded really interesting, but you just like a bit more detail, the place for that is the webinars. Obviously, go through the summaries and go through the policies that are on our website. But if you do want to hear more and ask any questions, obviously the webinars or any of the drop-ins if you'd like to, or just send us an email. So I'm just going to recap, because this is the really important part, how to make comments. Reiterate again that the consultation will run for a period of 8 weeks, starting on Monday the 24th of October and finishing on the 19th of December this year. Our online survey can be found on the link that's on the screen there. And please, you can also email comments as well at lpu@leeds.gov.uk. You can send in comments by post. And as I say, if you need any help or guidance, please give us a ring on 0113 378 7993. Please noting that we can't accept comments themselves by phone, but we'll do everything we can to help you make comments one way or another. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you, and thank you for the time this afternoon. I've run a bit longer than I was expecting to, so sorry for that. But I'll happily wait for any questions or comments. If there aren't any, don't worry about it, and enjoy the rest of your afternoons. But I'll pause for a few minutes just to see whether anyone's got any questions they'd like to ask. This is always the most exciting part of any webinar. We should have some, I think we need to get a musical interlude.
We've got no questions as yet, Adam.
That's fine. And as I say, don't worry about it if oh, we've got one there.
We have. So this gentleman would like to know, will there be future webinars on each of the topics in more detail?
Yes, there will. So let me just go back to an earlier slide. I'm assuming, Caroline, I'm still sharing, am I?
You are, yes.
Excellent. So let me just go up. That's a good question. So yes, so this page, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit small, but I can read it out if that's helpful. So we've got we've got sessions for what we're trying to do is make sure that we've got a daytime session and an evening session for all topic areas. So you'll see there we've got green and blue infrastructure in the afternoon, and then later on we've got one in an evening. So hopefully they can, either the evening or the afternoon will work for you. We've got you covered, kind of thing. So each topic, so flood risk, carbon reduction, GBI, placemaking and sustainable infrastructure, each has 2 separate webinars to go through. They will cover the same information, so you don't need to attend both. But yes, we've got all of these topics will be covered in more detail. So if you think what I said was, yeah, that sounded interesting, but you didn't go to the detail I was hoping for there, Mr. Harvett, don't worry. It's all going to be contained, and you can register for those on that website that I've just taken you through. There is a link. Let me just change my screens over. Bear with me. This is where was it? Yeah, so let's just go. This will throw us out for a little bit, but let's just go back here. Here we go. Right, so to find how to book into the webinars, you just go onto the introduction and have your, so I'll go back to the home page there. So this is the landing page. You click on that first tab, introduction, and have your say. And then if you scroll down, it's about, I'd say probably about 2/3 of the way down, or actually more approaching the bottom, actually, you're probably close to nearly the bottom. And there's the list of all the events. And just underneath it, you can sign up for any of these events on Eventbrite. You see that link there, just click on that link. And then that takes you to a separate page where if you accept all or not, it's your preference, you can access all of the sessions. Anyone's having any difficulty finding that, just drop us an email or give us a call and we will happily guide you through that process. Okay, right.
Great, thanks, Adam. I think we have a couple more questions.
Great stuff.
Right, how does the Leeds plan update link to other local or national government level plans, if at all?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think on a national level, we know the government, obviously through the Climate Change Act, that there is a requirement on local authorities and the country as a whole to try and reduce our emissions. I think the issue there is that the evidence that we've collected suggests that we need to go faster than some of the government's requirements are. So as an example, building regulations do get updated and they set out the standards that people should build new dwellings or any new buildings to. And they are moving towards carbon neutrality. But the evidence that we have would suggest that movement is progressing perhaps a little bit too slowly. So it Leeds, but not just in Leeds, we're aware of a number of other local authorities such as London, Bath, Reading, Lancaster, are also progressing policies to move as quick as we are, so that we are trying to make sure that all dwellings and all new buildings are zero carbon, which takes us to go faster than national level. But as I say, we're not by ourselves. It's not Leeds just doing something by ourselves. We are trying to move with other local authorities as well. So I think in answer to the question, I think it is a bit of a mixed picture. I think everyone's moving towards increased energy efficiency, more renewable energy, better standards of green space and all that kind of thing. But perhaps it's moving at slightly different pace. In Leeds, obviously in 2019, we declared the climate emergency, and that's what's really driving this for Leeds. So I think it's as I say, I think it's a mixed picture. But I think we're really clear that what we're doing is in conformity with what the government is requiring of us. So there are strong links there. We're just perhaps going faster than other authorities are. So I hope that helps answer the question.
Thanks, Adam. Right, just someone would like a bit more clarity on what we mean by firstly green and blue infrastructure and secondly placemaking.
Yes, no, it's a really good question, and apologies if there wasn't enough detail or simplification of that. But really what we mean by green and blue infrastructure, in fact, I can probably take you to the definition, so just bear with me. I think you can still see my screen, can't you, in terms of the website? Yes. Right, so let's just go. That's a good test for me to see whether I remember where these things are. So if we go to green and blue infrastructure, there should be a bit of a definition there. Yes, so if you can see on the screen there, we've got, hopefully that highlighting works, but I'll read it out anyway. So we've got green and blue infrastructure comprises multifunctional green spaces, both urban and rural. So what we're talking about is woodlands, hedgerows, nature reserves, river corridors, public parks, amenity areas, but other things, green links, ponds, river corridors. I think previously what we would say is we'd say open space, but open space isn't quite as helpful as you might think, because open space might include, say, a concrete tennis court. There isn't an awful lot of kind of biodiversity or life or nature on a concrete tennis court. So it doesn't fit an easy definition if we just say things like open space. So we've tried to use things like green infrastructure, which is kind of those ecosystems and nature as it's all working together. And then when you look at a national level, they're quite keen for us to look at introducing blue as well, because by blue we obviously mean things like ponds, rivers, which have a really important link to how nature works. They're kind of corridors and the transport systems almost for a lot of our nature. And they interact really closely together. So on a river's edge, if you're walking near the wharf or the Aire or any other river in your area, or beck, there's an awful lot of nature that's going on. So that's why we call green and blue infrastructure. But we don't mean construction. So when we say infrastructure, we don't mean it in the same way that we mean, say, a road or a railway line. We use the term infrastructure because it's like a solid foundation that nature is being able to be built on. And without that infrastructure, biodiversity and nature suffers. So we're really keen to sort of protect it. We already have policies that do that, but we're keen to go further. Placemaking as well. Sorry, I can see that you've also asked what placemaking means. It's really about good quality design, making places pleasant for people to live and work and play in. It's a term that I think's begun to become quite common, I suppose, in planning. Perhaps we need to find a slightly more approachable wording for it, but yeah, that's what it means. It probably would have been called urban design perhaps a decade ago, but placemaking, I suppose, it's just trying to make attractive, safe, usable, accessible places. And so it can go into the detail of how buildings should look, but also go into the detail about how you move around them, and how buildings should interrelate with each other to make sure that places are attractive and functional. So that's what we're trying to do there, and also healthy. Trying to make sure that places are people can move around them rather than feel that they have to just jump in their car to get from one place to another. So that's what we mean by placemaking. It's about what can we do to make attractive, pleasant places.
Great, thanks, Adam. We have another question. Will the policies have any effect on the effects of aircraft emissions from the planes at Leeds Bradford Airport?
I think it's a really good question. I think at this stage, the answer is no. And I think that's something that people may want to write in response to the consultation to make their views clear on that. We originally, if you go through the material in terms of the previous draft, which was consulted on last year, we had policies, we had a topic of Leeds Bradford Airport. There's been so much uncertainty since then. At a national level, we're still waiting for national guidance. The airport obviously have withdrawn their application, that we took the view that it would provide more certainty if we delayed new policy on the airport to a future plan update. That's our position. But it may be that you feel that that's not the right position, in which case, we really like to hear from you to let us know whether you think actually this plan should include policies for aircraft emissions. I think the issue is that a lot of it is dealt with at a national level, and understanding what can be dealt with at a local level has produced some difficulties. If I can say that, but certainly, because I know a lot of people wrote in regarding the airport for the first application, and we'd be very keen to hear from those people and any more to hear their views on how we best address some of these issues.
Right, that seems to be all the questions for now.
Okay, well, I'll just pause a little bit, because it may be that people have heard the answers that I gave and might want to come back with either further or supplementary or completely different questions. So I'll just pause there. Oh yeah, I can just see as well. Oh, it's okay. I just realised that it was a separate message, but it was just just reiterating the point about accessing the webinars, and I'll just go back to the link there on screen so that you can see it. We've got those there. Yeah, so you can sign up for any of these events on Eventbrite, and you just need to click that link. So it's nearly, I'd say, right at the bottom of the page there. You'll be able to click on, and please, yeah, sign up for as many or as little as you like. But it'd be really good to see you. I'll just pause. Well, I'll give people enough time, so I'll pause till 52 minutes past, and then if there aren't any further questions, I'll just bring us to a close. This is definitely the section, if you're watching this back on YouTube, that you did need a musical interlude. We'd also, just whilst people are thinking or waiting, we'd really welcome any feedback you have on these webinars. Best just to send in an email to us. That'd be really welcome. You know, good, bad, or indifferent, we don't mind. We're keen to make sure that these are useful and understandable, effective for you guys, really. So any feedback that you've got, anything that you think we can improve or do more of, please just let us know. It'd be really good feedback, because we're keen to try and do different kinds of things. Webinars are not something that planning departments generally have, but I guess, you know, the world is changing, isn't it? So we're keen to try new things. So it'd be really useful to know whether it's useful for you guys, and how we can get, I guess, more people kind of engaged with them as well, because we think they're a good way of sharing information. Okay, that's 2 minutes. So thank you very much. Yeah, so we've got a thanks for a very useful introduction. You're very, very welcome. Thank you for taking the time, to all of you, for attending. It's really, really welcome. Hopefully you found it useful. So yeah, I'll wrap it up there. I'll stop sharing. And yeah, just wish you all good afternoons. Thank you very much for your time, and it's very much appreciated. So Vashi, I guess if you want to stop the recording, and we can then close this webinar. So I will say goodbye to everyone, and thank you very much for your time.